Hi guys, it's Malphasar here, and I wanted to give you guys my first impressions of Path of Exile 2. I'm a fairly new Path of Exile player with only 190 hours in Path of Exile 1. Really enjoyed those 190 hours, I must say though. This From launch, we got about 25 to 26 hours into the game. I've got to test some group play. I've got to try solo, and we're currently at about Act 3. I'll try to keep it spoiler light as possible for my first impressions if you guys don't want spoilers. I've been powering through this campaign, kind of ignoring the story because I really didn't want to spoil anything until the full campaign comes out, so I'm just trying to blast to the end game. But let's dive into my thoughts, what I liked, what I think they can improve on, and let's go from there. So first thing I noticed when first getting into the game is the movement on controller feels great. The controls on controller feel great. I do wish they had the ability to switch between controller and mouse intuitively, because I'd much rather do the inventory system via the mouse, but currently that's not available at this time. Hopefully down the road we're going to get that. When we first started right away, I started trying group play, and group play has been fun, but I am noticing the scaling in group play seems maybe a little too aggressive in my opinion, at least in the early game. Things were very spongy with their HP, so it took a lot to bring them down, and then if a ally died during a boss fight, if you're trying to solo it in a party, the time it takes to actually solo one of these bosses becomes quite difficult, because you're trying to survive these mechanics and deal with this HP sponge of a monster with only one source of DPS. And with the way the mechanics for the bosses works, it is very, very difficult to even try and attempt to revive your ally in the group play. So I think maybe the spongy HP bars need to be reduced a little bit in the group play, in my experience. That's just my first initial impression of this from playing the first full day in groups for the most part. The items you get throughout your playthrough is an interesting topic. So a lot of people are like, oh, there are not a lot of drops coming, you're not getting a lot. I think this is because the way they promote the idea that you should be taking the gear you find, crafting on it, or even buying that gear from the vendors. Now, my initial thoughts on this is crafting. It feels great, it's fun, and when you hit that awesome rolled piece of gear that you upgraded into, it is a super awesome feeling. But at the same time, I do find that regal shards and orbs are very hard to come by. You're only getting those regal shard drops occasionally, and then on top of that, you need to get yellow drops to disenchant if you want to get more regal shards, so you can get that regal orb to upgrade your magic items to a rare item. So I feel like they could increase the drop rate on regal shards at the very minimum, to kind of give you that option to get you right into the crafting right away. And that way they're not just giving you regal orbs, you're getting regal shards and working up to it, and not just rely on hopefully getting a yellow drop that you can disenchant. Though there have been times where a yellow has dropped and it's been just a straight up upgrade, which is also fantastic either way. But being able to craft your gear up definitely is something they kind of sold to us very early on. But without the regal orbs, it is very difficult to get past a magic item. So I think some way to address this could make the crafting experience a lot more enjoyable. The monsters and bosses. So I think the monsters and bosses are in a fairly good place for solo play. As we discussed early on, group play things feel a little more spongy than I'd like, but playing in solo, I think it feels really good. The bosses are challenging without being too challenging. You just got to learn the mechanics and learn to punish the mechanics. Now, this is coming from someone who's playing a mercenary who is a ranged class. I know there are people who are experiencing issues playing melee classes where they're saying it's a lot more difficult. So I can't say for sure with regards to that, but I totally can get where they're coming from, and maybe that is something that needs to be addressed for melee classes. But as a mercenary, the boss fights for feeling good. You got to learn to read the telegraphed attacks, dodge them, punish them, and get as much damage as you can in on them. With the normal monsters, I found they're perfectly fine. I haven't run into anything where I am getting blasted in one shot by anything. The only thing that can really get you killed is getting swarmed by monsters and getting stuck. And if you dodge yourself into a corner, that can happen very easily. And if you don't have a skill to kind of knock them off you, you're in for a bad time. So that kind of brings into the question is, should you be able to dodge through monsters? At this current time, I don't think it's required. There are unique items, like I can't remember what the item they showcased is, but it makes your dash a teleport, which would allow you to kind of phase through those enemies. But I think the way it is fine. With the monster collision, it kind of makes you play smarter instead of faster, which is not a problem. It just means you gotta make sure you don't get yourself cornered in a corner. Now, do I think they should have collision with teammates? That one I'm not sure about. I think as you get into a bigger party, it could become an issue with the collision with your teammates, where you could get stuck in between them in some situations. So maybe that is something they should consider with teammates. But with the collisions on monsters and bosses, I think they should leave this the way it is. It makes you have to make every position you move to worth something. And if you get stuck getting trapped in a bunch of monsters and you get killed, I think it means you are playing a little too lightly, and you need to keep better track of what your position is when fighting the monsters. Moving on to another big part of the game system is the skill gems. So I think the skill gems is a really smart way that they're handling the skills. I like that each of the skills have sockets that you can upgrade those with support skills. Overall, I've had a great experience with the skill system. They give you enough skill gems to make sure you're leveling up your skills appropriately. They also give you enough support gems to make sure that you're being able to put those support gems into your skills. So all in all, I'd say they've done very well handling this. The passive tree, the daunting passive tree, I think is also being handled very well. It is quite straightforward on pathing with it. It is a little daunting. There is some work you have to do for planning on where you want to go and what you want to do, but they've made it very accessible with the way you can search the tree and find the support that you want for your build, making it quite engaging, as well as supported well enough that you're going to be able to navigate through that passive tree and kind of find anything you may need for those builds. So I think they've done a good job with the passive tree, even though it is super daunting. But once you start pathing through it, you'll start to get a good feel for it. I've kind of gone and went for grenades and area of effect type stuff for my build, and I've used the search in the tree to kind of find out the paths I'm taking, and so far the build has been working phenomenally, and I'm really enjoying exploring and discovering what we can do on the passive tree. So those are my general first impressions right now, getting to play the game for the 25 to 26 hours I've had. I think the game feels good. The combat is rewarding and fun. I think there needs to be some adjustments for group plays. I think some drop rates may need to be adjusted a little bit just to kind of get you closer to getting the crafted gear you want. I think other than that, I really haven't had too many issues with the way that the game is playing right now. Feels good. We're only in Act 3, So this is just my first 3-day impression. So let me know your thoughts on the start of the early access for Path of Exile 2. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you like to see changed? Leave those in the comments down below. And if you want to see more Path of Exile 2 videos, like and subscribe to this video. Helps our channel grow. And we're going to be diving in on Tuesdays and Thursdays moving forward, playing more Path of Exile 2. And if there's more things we enjoy, more things we don't enjoy. But that's it for today. I appreciate you coming to check out this video. I hope it gives you an idea of what to look forward to. And we'll catch you next time. So take her easy, everyone. Thanks for coming by.